delighted to have Dominican University and the Cohort River Community Foundation partnership in the 5th year of operation for the Community Leadership Program that you've all participated in with great success. I just got a real thumbs up from your guide and mentor, Ron Bacci, that this has been a good group and done marvelous work. We are excited about what you've learned. I am here also representing the fond regards of your faculty members, Lisa Amoroso and Dave Aaron, who enjoyed working with you. They are proud of the work that you've done. They're proud of the skills you've honed and developed. And our message going forward is simply, don't lose what you've achieved. Don't lose the connections. You've learned a lot about networking and team building. Don't lose those skills. We want you to take what you've learned, what you've gained, and make our community a richer, more exciting place to live that does good things for the people who are your friends and neighbors. So thank you for your participation. You are an elite group who have been identified by your colleagues and employees as the people who will change the lives of this small part of the metropolitan area, and we're going to be expecting great things from you. If I can do one bit of advertising, eventually you'll be getting surveys. We'll ask for your reflection, not the day you finish the program, but as you evolve career and work-wise. What are your thoughts as you look back? What can we do differently that strengthens it? And secondly, recommend this program to your colleagues and friends who will benefit from it as well, because we want people just like you going forward. So I wish you all success. I'm delighted to be here to offer Dominican University's welcome on behalf of our president, Donna Hero, and I'm excited to see what you're going to teach me now about what we can do to make Oak Harbor River Forest a better place to live. Thank you.
Well, I'm going to give you a few minutes of background on the program and go through this year's program so you can see what we accomplished and also sort of get a feel for what we covered during the program this year. Of course, you know that the program was conceived by some very influential community leaders back in 2009. The first time that we started the program was January 2010. It was only 6 sessions back then, and after that first year we realized both because the projects that we asked the people to get involved with take a little time to develop, and also we had some important topics to add in. We expanded in that second year. CLP2 became a 9-month program, and I'll give you some more specifics on that later. We have local leaders who come in, and the people are enhanced, the people that are in the program, by the experiences of a variety of guests, both from the community, from organizations in the community, and of course we also depend heavily on 2 of our professors to assist, Lisa Amoroso and Dave Aaron, and then I try to do a little bit as well. But they're really the keys to giving some good ideas to our people. The group breaks into teams, and they work on projects or solutions that directly benefit the communities around here. We hope that these leaders that come out of these programs will continue to shine and be resources for various community organizations, both as board members or on committees. And so that's the main objective of the program. The structure of the program. It's 1 day per month for 9 months, and as you can see, you're listening to people who are bringing the community to the participants. But the key one up there on that slide is the networking capability it develops. And some of the teams today are going to talk about that networking capability. The way the program is structured, it meets once a month, and on each session, we really cover one singular topic. That's the emphasis of that session. And so you can see the topics up here. What I'm going to do is go through each of the sessions, and I want to point out a couple things. As you look up here, this is the organization that gave us a place to meet. So we appreciate the organizations around the communities who've allowed us to use their meeting room facilities to have our sessions. It makes it very comfortable, and it also gives the participants an opportunity to get to know the community as a whole and go to places that maybe they've never been to before. And you'll see that as we go down the list here. So in this first one, certainly Molly did a good explanation of the program and welcomed people to the program back then. Alejandra gave us a little bit of the origins and aspirations of the program and went into how the Community Foundation supports the program. Dave Pope came in and gave us a good summary of community-driven partnerships to foster a sustainable community. That was the gist of his topic. And then in the afternoon, we usually have the guest speakers in the morning. In the afternoon, Lisa Amorosa went into leadership styles. She did some role playing. We did some principled negotiations. And she talked a little bit about servant leadership. So it was a good session. The second session was at the River Forest Village Hall. And we had the opportunity to bring in the mayor of Forest Park, because as we're growing this program, we're actually expanding out beyond the two communities of Oak Park and River Forest and bringing people in that actually live or work in the communities that also border on those two. So he came in and did a tremendous job, a history of the villages around there. Eric, who has been a speaker with us for 3 years, the village administrator, he talked about how Oak Park has dealt with the changes, and I mean River Forest has dealt with the changes. And then Kara came in and gave us the background on Oak Park. We always invite at lunchtime alum from the previous year. So on each one of these you see a blue line, and that's the people who were in last year's program, some of which are in the audience here, who came in and talked at lunch about their experiences. They also allowed the people in our current group, our current cohort, to ask questions about how their projects developed, how they decided to cover what they were covering in their projects. So in this session, we also viewed a thing on leadership that I love to use. It's called A Journey into a Heroic Environment, and we talked about that video and how it affects how you view leadership in your life. The last thing we did, which was always fun for our cohorts, is we did speed dating for projects. And they all laughed because it's a really good way to try and figure out what projects you're interested in versus the other participants and start to come together on a project that you could work on as a team. So that's Dave Aaron's credit to that, speed dating for projects. The third session, okay, there we go. A little bigger component of people talking, and this was to bring in some significant community leaders that could talk to a lot of different issues. But their main focus was how they got involved in the community and how their personal involvement affects their life and their career, and what were their leadership perspectives. We asked each of the guest speakers here to talk a little bit about how they look upon leadership. And then in the afternoon, of course, again, we had some lunch alums. Oops, I always do that, hit the wrong button. Okay, we had our lunch alums in blue on here, but the important thing to note on the third session is we had an opportunity after the day was over to enjoy a reception at Donna Carroll's home, our president, and a wonderful experience. And in that reception, they get a chance to start networking with community leaders, with some of the cohorts that were before them, as far as getting into the projects that they want to develop. So that's always a wonderful experience that Donna has hosted since the very beginning. Fourth session. This one is geared towards building effective teams. And so we did have Jan Pate, and she came in and talked first a little bit about how she put her team together, but also about when a project goes south. When you have something that doesn't work, how do you handle it? How do you react? How do you take something that's not going well and turn it into something that is good for your organization? Tremendous topic. Alejandra talked about cradle to grave, a new collaborative model that is being developed. And so that was interesting. And then after our lunch guest speakers, again, the alums from previous years, we had Lisa come in and talk about the characteristics of effective teams and how to build the team dynamics into your team. And the participants will remember the tennis ball activity, which was a lot of fun. Everybody smiles when I say that. The participants. It's one way to see how teams can be built, just having fun, and yet it accomplishes something. And they can tell you about it separately at the cocktail party, how they got around it, got their time down on handling the tennis balls. Fifth session. This was at Hepzibah Children's Home, and we've been there every year. It's wonderful. Mary Ann Brown gave us a little bit of her views before we actually started the program that morning. She was sort of like a guest breakfast speaker, and it's always good to hear from her. And then we went into the program. Now, as I said, from the first year we went to 9 sessions, and every year we sort of tweak it a little bit. And this year I asked Wayne, who's one of our professors here, to come in because he has a phenomenal lecture on strategic planning. And so he enhanced the situation of project planning and implementing by doing something on strategic planning first. Then we had 3 guest speakers sort of as a team. Dawn, who works here, Dennis, and Brian. And when you look at this and you say, boy, Dawn is one of us, so yeah, she came. But these other 2 are people that have worked with the university on major projects, like building the Palmer, where we are, and the garage. But these are people that gave up their time to tell us about how to manage projects, how to develop and control your project. So it was a really good experience for all of our participants. And then, of course, again, we had lunch alums. The afternoon of this, we started really concentrating on looking at the projects that our current cohort was developing. And so that's why you don't see any participation from Dave or Lisa in the afternoon of that. Session 6 was at Rush Oak Park Hospital. This was a little bit of a leadership-oriented program, although it says conflicts and negotiation. That was in the afternoon. A good friend of mine, a fellow military officer, actually Jill Morgenthaler was a major for me and eventually went up the line and became a colonel, caught up with me. That's what I retired as. Jill does a tremendous job talking about her secrets to success as a female in the military. She was one of the first females commissioned out of the ROTC programs. And she's done an amazing bunch of things, including she was head of the Environmental Protection Agency in Illinois. She did a run at Congress, and just so you know, she's coming out with a book on Veterans Day this year about her experience as a female in the military, as an officer and a leader. Seamus came in and talked about the work that he does with the Root Riot. And you'll see that one of the projects we have that we're going to hear about today sort of tied into some of the things that he talked about. We had lunch guests again along, one of them is here. And then in the afternoon, we had a little more on negotiations, and there was a creative integrative agreement. Creating integrative agreements was the emphasis that Lisa had in the afternoon. Again, you see at the bottom of this slide that there was a reception. This was a very, very important reception because this was a celebration of the 5th year of the Community Leadership Program. And it was hosted by the Community Foundation at the 19th Century Club. I, for one, had never been to the 19th Century Club. Found it fascinating. It was a wonderful experience. And when you go outside here, you'll see the really neat cookies that we got for that. So if you can grab one of those and take it with it, they're really good. But that was part of this experience back at that time. In 7, we went to the education side of our communities, and we had guests from the educational institutions come in and talk. We asked them to talk about key issues and challenges in their sector, whether it be at the college level or the high school or the grammar school. We asked them also to talk a little bit about how their educational institution fits into the community and what their view was of their community responsibilities, and also tell us about your leadership styles. So we had some really tremendous guests, including our president, and I have to say that 2 of these individuals, Ed and Albert, were there every year since we added this extra session on, so 2nd year until now. Again, lunch participants. And then in the afternoon, what Dave covered during this session was good old-fashioned marketing of your project and some tips on the presentations. The presentations you see today hopefully picked up on some of those tips that he gave at that point. We're rolling towards the end. The 8th session was at the Public Works Center of the Village of Oak Park. It's an amazingly green building. It has that LEED certification as being totally green. It's a great place to have a meeting. They have really good facilities for us to use. And again, it's something that as a community resident, you may have never walked into because it's not Village Hall. It's separated from it by quite a distance. So we had a chance to enjoy that. Richard King gave us a real good idea of what it's like to be on a board, because we hope that one of the outcomes of this is that some of the participants will be asked to be on boards, so that this is a way for them to hear from someone who does that, both having been on boards, including Dominicans, but also that he's a consultant for boards, and so he talked at great length about that. Also had a personal friend of mine that I went through high school, grammar school, and even both went to Loyola together, although I was in business and he was somewhere else. Arsenio came in, and as a former Chicago Cranes business reporter, he knows what it's like to go and talk to somebody and try to get a story. So what he did is he turned it around and told our participants how to handle the media when they come into you. Something happened at your organization that you're on the board for, and somebody from the media finds out you're a board member, and they come up to you and put that microphone in your face. He told us how to learn how to handle those kind of situations. Very well-received presentation by our senior Oloroso. So, we also at that point did some dry runs of the presentation, talked about what they're going to do today. And so I will immediately now flip over to what you're going to hear about after I sit down. And these are the teams and the topics that are going to be covered. And it'll go right down the line. We'll start with the team over here, and you'll get a chance to listen. Certainly at the end of each presentation, you will have time to ask questions. I will ask, if you need a comfort break or you can't stay for all the presentations, I would ask that you only leave when we are switching from one team to the next, their presentation, because it would be a little bit cumbersome if you left in the middle of somebody's presentation. I would also ask, as I've done, put your cell phones on stun so that, or quiet, one or the other, just so that we don't disturb, because they've done a lot of work on putting these presentations together. So with no further ado, let's get team one up.